As millions of women have to work after birthing their babies, governments are being urged to make breastfeeding at work work. On this World Breastfeeding Day, there's an appeal to ensure workplaces protect and support working mothers. The World Health Organization says this is key to achieving the 2030 target of 70% of babies being breastfed. Let's discuss this further with Professor Lisanne du Plessis, a dietitian and nutritionist at the University of Stellenbosch, who joins us from Stellenbosch this afternoon. Prof, thank you so much for your time. This year's theme for World Breastfeeding Day, indeed World Breastfeeding Week, is this week, going by everybody's social media feeds. Wonderful to read everybody's breastfeeding stories, some happy stories and some not so happy stories. But enabling breastfeeding is the theme of this year, with a keen focus on the workplace. Now, I've seen the subject matter being dealt with in a comedic way on on TV shows, where a woman returns to work after having a baby, and they say, "Oh, I believe you've got a place to express your milk during your tea breaks," and she says, "Yes, it's called the toilet," you know, and that's kind of the perception that's out there, that women are kind of left to their own devices to try and find a little dark corner somewhere, because heaven forbid, don't let anybody see you expressing milk in the most natural way. What are the biggest barriers to entry that you found in terms of enabling women to be able to do this very important job while doing their jobs?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me. Of course, worldwide, globally, we have seen that returning to work and the workplace can be a barrier for women to initiate breastfeeding and to continue breastfeeding. So it's extremely important that workplaces be supportive of this practice. More and more women are entering the workspace, a job market. So we really need to support mothers that they are not in a situation where they should be choosing between breastfeeding their child and working.
Do you think enough women know what their rights are in this regard and what they should be expecting their workplaces to provide for them?
No, I don't think women are, and mothers, breastfeeding mothers, are informed, but the workplace is also not informed. So we have legislation, a whole list of it, that actually could support mothers in the workplace, but employers are not aware of this, and mothers are not sensitized to this before they go on maternity leave, so that they can actually plan for when they go back to work. So there's a lot of awareness that needs to be created around mothers' rights, babies' rights, of course, to the optimal nutrition, and then also employers that need to put policies in place to support their working mothers to continue breastfeeding or to express at work.
We are, of course, speaking about women who are in the formal workplace and formal employment. But being in South Africa, we do know a lot of women make their living in an informal economy as well. How do we include them in ensuring that they too understand what their rights are? Is it more than about broader society changing their outlook on making spaces available to women, whether they work in an office environment or a non-office environment?
Absolutely. And we would like to have this whole of society approach where everybody in this country knows about the benefits of infant and young child nutrition, and specifically breastfeeding, and that it's a natural act. It is natural, the best choice, and that everybody is sensitized to allow, I don't even want to use the word allow, just embrace this and support mothers to do the most natural thing. In the informal the informal workspaces, of course, it is more of an issue, but there is research that has been done to show that there is actually enough legislation in South Africa through UIF, etc., and maternity protection to assist mothers, but it is fragmented. So it is not easy to understand. It's not in one space. So it is difficult for mothers to know what they can do and what they can expect, but also for those who work in this informal workspaces to support mothers. So I think going back to the the comment that it should be a whole of society approach. There's a lot of advocacy needed in this country of ours to ensure that everybody knows what is the best, and the best is to breastfeed.
Absolutely. I want to take a broader look, however, at the theme of enabling breastfeeding. I know the focus here has been on working mothers, but if you look at just that phrase, enabling breastfeeding, I mean, I've got a 2.5-year-old who I was lucky enough to breastfeed for the first year of her life. And it was another moment as a South African where you really do feel your privilege, knowing that I was by the means to ensure that I was able to eat what I needed to eat, drink what I needed to drink, and do all of the other things I needed to do to ensure that my little girl was getting the best possible nutrition from me through breastfeeding. And sitting with the poverty numbers that we do in South Africa, enabling breastfeeding also needs to look at enabling mothers to take care of themselves so that they could take care of their babies in the best possible way through breastfeeding. When dealing with mothers through the work that you do as a nutritionist, how tough is that part of helping them be ready to feed their babies, making sure that they can afford the food and the nutrition that they need to ensure that they're putting the best possible nutrition in their babies?
Sure. So I think obviously it is very important that mothers are cared for, their nutritional health needs and their other health needs, and that she is optimally fed and nurtured. But there is a misconception that if you are not well fed, if you are undernourished or overnourished, that your breast milk will not be sufficient, that it will not be enough or strong enough, as many women would say. So your body is so well designed that it will take from your body what is needed to produce breast milk. So if a mother isn't optimally fed, she will still produce the best breast milk for her child and the best nutrition that is available in the whole wide world for her child. So the body will protect the infant by all means and take from the body what it needs to nurture the child. It's only when nutrition, a nutritional status goes into a state of, say, famine, where your body will firstly just not produce enough milk, so the volume will decrease, but the quality will still be optimal. But if this continues for too long, then obviously the quality of the breast milk will also diminish. But in our country, most women can breastfeed physiologically. And if they are supported to do this in whatever space they find themselves in after the delivery of the baby, they should be able to breastfeed their children. And this is related to nutrition in a certain degree, but not as people perceive it to be when they think, I don't eat well, I eat junk food, so I won't be able to breastfeed. That isn't true. As I said, your body is designed to take from its stores what it needs to produce the best milk in breast milk. So it's a bit more complex than just saying, I'm undernourished or I'm overnourished, so I can't produce breast milk. Most mothers can produce breast milk. But of course, for herself and her own well-being, it is best if she is also optimally fed.
For those who are not in a position to be able to do so, of course, we do know that there are those mothers in that position. There's a lot of talk around informal milk sharing and breastfeeding banks as well. Where do you stand with regards to the dangers thereof and how this milk is vetted before it is placed in a position for distribution?
Sure. So what you're referring to is a very old custom that is called wet nursing, or one mother breastfeeding someone else's child. And this was commonly done earlier years. But especially the HIV pandemic has really scared people off this practice, because we know that the HIV virus is found in breast milk. But there are ways that mothers can test their breast milk for the most well-known viruses, and to make sure that they can actually breastfeed someone else's child if this situation arises. Say, for instance, when a baby or mother dies and the baby is orphaned. Breast milk banks have very good and very strict protocols in place for the handling of breast milk, donated breast milk, and they have protocols where they need to sterilize the milk, they heat treat the milk, and so forth, and they test the milk to make sure that it is safe for consumption. In South Africa, breast milk can be donated. It is like blood donation. You are not paid for it. It's a social responsibility. In some countries, people are paid to donate breast milk, but not in South Africa.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much. Great insight there from Professor Lisanne du Plessis, a dietitian and nutritionist at the University of Stellenbosch.